This episode is brought to you by Augusta Capital. Augusta Capital is a leading fixed income specialist on the Irish Stock Exchange. Augusta Capital is known for its bold and innovative approach in the corporate bond space. For more information, visit our website at augustaplc.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. This is episode 30. Episodes are released every week, and we hope you'll join us throughout the season. Today we discuss a couple of big sporting events taking place this weekend. We're joined by horse racing trainer and Chelsea fan Oliver Sherwood to discuss Saturday's Grand National race at Aintree. And Glenn has a look at who has the best chances of winning this year's Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, Georgia, and that takes place from Thursday to Sunday this week. Well, Glenn, it's the Grand National race at Aintree on Saturday, and our guest today has not only ridden in the race, but has also trained the winner. In 2015, Many Clouds was the horse, and his trainer Oliver Sherwood, he joins us now. Oliver, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks so much for being here. Tell us, what did training the winner of the Grand National mean to you?
Everything. The Grand National. Fun enough, when I was very lucky to win it, I had to do one of these last night, and I said the same thing. I always wanted to win Cheltenham Gold Cup because that was the pinnacle of all sort of the jumping season. When I actually did win the National, I had to do interviews on Sunday and Monday over the phone from South Africa, Australia, America, even China, would you believe it? And I always said exactly what I just said to you. I always wanted to win the Cheltenham Gold Cup, not the Grand National. Much it was nice to win a Grand National. And every single one said, what's the Cheltenham Gold Cup? They'd never heard of it. But every single one heard of the Grand National. And the Grand National is a worldwide race. And the Cheltenham Gold Cup isn't. I mean, Cheltenham, you guys know what Cheltenham's like. But the Grand National, the Aintree Grand National is a worldwide race, and everybody watches it.
That's very true. It's probably equates in football to the FA Cup final back in the days. Everyone in around the world knew the FA Cup final. You know, they didn't really know too much about the English Division 1, did they? It's got that same sort of feel about it.
You're right there. I'm sure you're right. I mean, it's just everybody in the whole world would watch an FA Cup final and probably wouldn't watch all the games and the League Cup finals it was in those days, and other little final was. I'm sure you're absolutely right. It equates to both the same.
Glenn was asking me, he always sort of says that the Football League, the Premier League, is like the Grand National. You have to jump many fences along the way, and it takes an awful long time to get round. It's not a sprint. He's thrown in a few technical errors like Tattenham Corner, but we forgive him for mixing the derby up with the National. But and I know he wants to know, and I'd like to know as well. Yeah. When you rode back in the day, it was 83, I think it was. The fences were much bigger. And what was it like as a jockey to ride in a race like that?
I honestly can say the only time, bar my last few rides when I was too nervous then, it was going to the first fence in the National. It was the only time I was absolutely terrified.
Really?
And you're hoping you're going to meet the first fence on a good stride. And it's not so much the fences, it's the other runners around. It's the first race you've ever ridden in, or I'd ever ridden in, with 40 runners. Normally you have 20 or 18 or 15. When you've got 40 runners and you get carried through with the euphoria of it all those people going down to Beecher's Brook on the bank up on the right-hand side, and the whole build-up, it gets you going. But that's what it's all about. That's what's so exciting about it. And when it's all over, you want to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, because it's all over. It's all over very, very quickly. And you finish, or you fall at the first, or luckily I managed to get round, you get back, and you've relaxed, and you're on a bit of a low. But it was something very, very special. I can remember it as it was yesterday.
I would imagine the cheer for that crowd when the starter gates go up. 40 horses, it must have felt like a stampede in many ways. And Do you then? I know your adrenaline's going, but is it there where you have to hold your horse back? Because if not, I would imagine. I mean, I know nothing about horse racing, but are you having to hold that horse back a little bit because of the cheer and the sort of stampede feeling that you're getting?
You're absolutely spot on, Glenn. We all get lectured in the weighing room before we go out in the paddock by the starter and by the powers that be. Just remember, you're in the public eye. Please don't go too fast. If you go too fast, you're going to have fallers, and there could be fatalities and injuries and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And it goes straight in one ear and straight out the other. But it's.
I thought you were saying they talk to the horse that way. That was talking to the horse. The one question I would love to know as a novice, a total novice, is during the Grand National and other races over the fence, is there much shouting and communication of like, get out of my way, I'm coming through, or whatever? I don't know. Is there a lot of shouting, or is everyone pretty silent and concentrating on their horse?
No. First of all, when you're going round at the start and you're doing a circle and everything, and the assistant starters are checking your girths and checking all your tacks, okay, and you're talking to the jockeys, you probably or should have done all your homework the night before, what colours the other jockeys are, and you know them from experience.
Yeah.
And you shout to the jockeys, where are you going? I'm going Middle Asia. And you know certain horses which are good jumpers or better jumpers or not such good jumpers, you don't want to be behind them. And then during the race, they talk, give us a bit of light, I'm coming up, I'm doing this. Right. It's all that goes on. And there is a bit of a sort of hidden thing. You don't go up other sides inners, up other jockeys or horses inners. You have a sort of straight line down the inside, and you don't go up, you have to go round. Or if a horse isn't going so well, give us a bit of light, can you? Obviously that can't happen with 40 horses around. So there's no doubt about it.
That's fascinating. I mean, that's something that's like, you know, the inner. I'm just relating it to football, you know, the verbal and the talking that goes on in football. Obviously, you're confrontational, you're against each other, but the talking that you'd have, you know, the communication with your teammates and whatever. But that's fascinating. You know, I thought it might be like that, but it's great to hear, Oliver, that you know, that happens. And it's almost, I'd imagine what you're saying is there's an unwritten code, if you like, that you don't break as a jockey.
Absolutely. But that's when we all stop riding and when you stop playing football. I think one thing you miss is the banter amongst the players, amongst even the opposition and your own team members. If there's a weighing room for the jockey, banter and all the bit of skullduggery which goes on, nicely so.
Yeah.
Every jockey who stops, that's the first thing they say they miss is the banter in the weighing room and in the race.
Well, you're absolutely spot on. It's great to hear that jockeys are the same. That's exactly when we all meet up. I meet up with all the Tottenham boys every now and again. We play golf things and we do a lot down. Tottenham got ambassadors that go to the game, and whenever I'm down at Tottenham, we don't talk about a match. We never ever talk about the UEFA Cup final or FA Cup finals. It's always the banter and the laughs that we had and the trips at the end of the season or pre-season things, the little wind-ups that we had. We reflect on that. We don't talk about the game and what we achieved or we didn't achieve. It's amazing, and it's great to hear that's the same with the jockeys. You miss that, don't you?
One of our great jockeys that you probably just heard retired, Richard Johnson, who was champion jockey for a couple of years, and he was second to Sir Anthony McCoy for years. He suddenly announced early on this week he was going to retire. And I guarantee you now that he would say that that's the main thing he will miss is the banter and the friendship in the weighing room.
Yeah.
Mutual respect from every single one of them.
I've got to ask you about banter. You got round the National when you rode it. Your wife rode in the National once, I understand. And she pulled up, and I think it's the 21st fence. Now, when you've loaded that dishwasher and you've done it wrong, and she says to you, Oliver, I've told you before, don't put the spoons there. Do you say to her, well, at least I got round the National course?
Not in that particular sort of domain at home. She does ride out, and she's very much an important member of our team. Does something wrong on a horse, I might say that, yes.
It probably depends on the distance you are from her, Oliver.
Got to be careful. I might get to the something being flung through the door in a minute.
All this will be reported back to your wife firsthand. Don't worry, you've got no chance later on.
So, am I right in saying, Oliver, that you train you've ridden obviously, but you trained the winner of the Grand National?
Yeah, I rode as an amateur. I was too heavy to ride professionally. I rode as an amateur. My brother Simon rode professionally. He rode Desert Orchid to win it and rode all those. Even though I know he's not listening, he was better than me as a rider, as a jockey. And I always jokingly say this. I blame my mother because I got breastfed and Simon didn't, so I got all the.
I want to see the racing post. What's the little notation for that? Will they have tongue tie, visor, blinkers? Not seen breastfed. It's not been on there so far, I don't think.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
No, but then I stopped riding in '84 and started training since 1984. I loved the sort of rapport with the animals, with the horses. It's great. The owners aren't easy. But that's another thing. I'm lucky enough to be able to earn a living out of somebody else's hobby.
Yeah.
Lucky enough to win the national in 2015 with a great many clouds. So that was.
So what gave my question now is then, because I'm trying to equate it as a player and a manager. What gave you more pleasure, that winning of the getting round and running in the national as a jockey, or winning as a trainer the Grand National?
Winning as a trainer. Because there's a jockey, you sort of get on a horse and you get off it. Okay, you do a bit of work on it at home, but it's all the staff at home which do the hard work. Building a horse up for the national, I deal with that horse day in, day out. Yeah. And you put them up for the whole season when they're coming off the summer holidays in July, all the way through to April. You have a plan over what to do, even though that I must confess the national, which was a bit of an afterthought, even though we'd entered him. But definitely winning as a trainer.
You feel responsibility, don't you, for so many more other people and that, yeah.
I'm the headmaster of my horses. It's like being at school, and they are my pupils. And you build up accordingly, and you have to have, you occasionally need a kick up the backside and occasionally a carrot in front of the mouth.
Just like a footballer, really.
Well, it takes us nicely onto football because you're a big Chelsea fan, Oliver. So how did you get into that, and what did you make of Mr. Hoddle when he was player manager there?
Not too bad, you know. No, I was. I went to it was school and some friends. We used to go up to Stamford Bridge and stand at the shed. Yeah. And the days of John Hollins and Peter Bonetti, Peter Osborne, Ian Hutchinson was my absolute hero. And I tell you who I did used to see when he used to, I think he used to work for Franny Lee, was Alan Hudson. He used to see up at Uttoxeter quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think he's been through a bad old time. I think he had a bad injury or got.
He did. He had an accident, Oliver.
Yeah. He got run over by a car, didn't he?
Yeah, bless him. No, I loved Alan Hudson as a kid. I remember him in the '70s. I was a Spurs fan as a kid, although I didn't know then I was going to go on and play for Tottenham. But I remember feeling heartbroken for him when he broke his ankle and he tried to get back for the Chelsea Leeds final. I so wanted him to be fit, Alan Hudson, for that game. I remember it as a kid. And he didn't make it because he'd broken his ankle a couple of months before. But no, Peter. So your favourite was Ian Hutchinson?
Hutchinson with a long throw.
Yeah.
Not far from here, from Lambourn, Chopper Harris used to have a golf club. He owned Drivenham Golf Course, I think.
Yeah, I played there with him. Yeah.
Yeah. That's literally 10 minutes up the road from here, from Lambourn.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's not far from me then, yeah. No, Chopper was, he's a character, Chopper. Like you talk about the banter when you catch up with everyone. The old school guys are brilliant. They really are.
I made a film with Chopper, actually, about his life story, a video of Chopper Harris's life story. And he's got some stories. He's got a Peter Osgood story. If you ever meet him, ask him about Peter Osgood in Blackpool. It's hilarious. It's not for transmission on the podcast, though, I don't think. But he does tell it at Stamford Bridge. He's one of their ambassadors, as Glenn was saying, at Tottenham. Yeah. Chopper's one of the ambassadors at Chelsea. He goes to every home game and looks after the supporters there. So you don't get to see them very often, I guess, except on TV these days, Oliver?
I've got to be a little bit careful because, funnily enough, actually, my wife is a big Aston Villa supporter.
Oh, yeah.
So I know it's a bit of a swear word on this side, so I apologise. But actually, she's seen more of them this season than she did in the last 3 or 4 years. So because they're on telly, so we do. I'm a big football supporter. Always watch it. I try, well, obviously can't in what's been going on the last year, but I always get up. Dave Roberts, who is a jockey's agent, he's Tony McCoy's agent and Richard Johnson's agent. He's a season ticket holder at Stamford Bridge, so he always gave me an odd, tickets to go to the bridge, more likely on a midweek evening game than a Saturday, because Saturday's obviously a busy day for us. So it's so easy to get up to Stamford Bridge from Lambourn. It's an hour by car. I always get there a couple of times a year, definitely. Many clouds. No, he won it in 2015.
Well, the same owner, and Trevor Hemmings, who's Preston North End fan, isn't he? Big fan of racing as well, based in the Isle of Man. He's got the favourite this year again with cloth caps, so the famous green, yellow, white colours. John Joe O'Neill is the trainer, Tom Scudamore the jockey. Favourite for the race, Oliver. He's got a favourite's chance, but with 40 runners, you need an awful lot of luck. Would he be your selection for the race if you had one?
I'm going to be bored. There's two. I think Clothcap has got an outstanding chance. If he gets over the first 5, 6, and he's a front runner, and given luck in running, as you quite rightly said, he has got an outstanding chance. Wouldn't it be fantastic after the Cheltenham they had, the Irish had, for Rachel Blackmore, a girl to win the National? It'd be very good for the sport. She's riding a horse of Harry de Bromhead, who won the Champion Hurdle, the Stayers Hurdle, and the Gold Cup. And just not the Stayers Hurdle, the 2-mile champ, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. She's riding a horse at the bottom, Manila something, Encore, I think it is. But I think that I'm going for that horse, the horse Rachel rides. Only, I think it'd be great for racing for a girl to win the National for the first time.
Or Manila Times, that one, yeah. JP Horse.
I'm just writing these down, Oliver. That was one thing my parents, as a kid, my mum and dad always used to like a flutter on a Saturday. Always had a Yankee. I remember this as a kid and watching them when they lost, when they won. But they always allowed me to have a little punt on the Grand National. It was always a massive day in it, growing up. I remember the Grand National and cracky, Foyne-Avon and stuff like that. Even as a kid, it stayed in my mind, in my memory. But it was fascinating fascinating. But for me, as a frightening, absolutely frightening. And to talk to you, who's actually been on a horse that's ridden the Grand National, is amazing. It's lovely. It's really good insight for me. I would have been scared stiff. I had once I ever went on a horse and I was in bed for 3 days after. I could not move. Oh my word. Honest to God, I was laid up with a back problem for 3 or 4 days. I just couldn't move. Yeah, it was horrible.
No, well, you do use muscles you've never used before. So, I mean...
But the other thing, Oliver, it seemed like I was coming down when I should be sort of riding with the horse. So the horse, I had 2 hours of just being pounded. In the end, I was holding round the neck of the horse. That's how bad it was. It was horrendous. And they let us go. It's a long story. Up in Yorkshire Dales, they thought I could ride a horse. And they led me down a lane and there was 20 other horses and they just let everyone go. Flying. I could have, it was amazing. So put me off for life, I'm afraid.
Oliver, thanks so much for being Glenn's guest today. Good luck with your move in the summer when you move your house and the stables all in the Lambourn area. Keep supporting the Blues and hopefully we'll see you at the bridge one day soon. This episode is brought to you by the Lily White Foundation. We believe sport is fundamental to the development of young people. But sadly, many young people in difficult financial or social circumstances don't get the opportunities most of us take for granted. The Lily White Foundation supports projects that help children and young people take part in sports and activities. For more information, go to lilywhitefoundation.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Another big event coming up, Glenn, one of your favourites, the Augusta Masters. The course looks brilliant. I know the TV station, they're already showing Masters from bygone days, and it's great to see the memories of those golfers. And it's amazing how great they were in the day, and the age just catches up with them, just catches up with everybody in the end, I guess. But some of the shots they were hitting in the 70s and 80s with the clubs they had. It's quite phenomenal, isn't it, really?
It is. It is. I mean, that's what you're saying, that the shot making was incredible back in the day. What they would be able to do now, and some of them, that's why people like Freddie Couples is still, and Bernard Langer, they're playing as well. Bernard Langer's playing as well as anyone, and they're in the Masters because they've won it before, and they'll be there or thereabouts for the 2-day to break the cut. There'll be other players that won't make the cut, and I'm sure one of them or one of the older school will come through. But isn't it great? I love this week. I love this week. I missed out on going. It was a bucket list thing that the pandemic has sort of messed that up twice now. But, it's great to see some crowd back there as well. That would make it the difference. November was no crowd there. It just wasn't the same. Dustin Johnson won it, and he played extremely well, but it just wasn't the same without any crowd at the Masters. It's probably a little bit like any game at Wembley, if a cup final or something. It's not going to be quite the same then. You see the difference. But no, I'm really excited. I've put some bets on, so I'll have a little punt on that and keep an eye on it. Although I'm working Sunday night, I'm probably going to miss the climax of it, which might have sitting an iPad on the back of the car coming home after doing the Arsenal-Sheffield United game.
Yeah, it's a course that's very tricky, and it's not really. Most courses in America are kind of point and shoot, aren't they? You got the flag, you aim for 80 yards from the flag, second shot to the pin. But the Masters, you can't do that because the undulations on the greens. That's not going to suit someone like DeChambeau, is it? You just blast the thing away.
No, I think this is a real test of golfers' knowledge and course management, really. I think they're the ones that win at the Masters. You have to be like no other course. I mean, Warren Pike, who we've had on the show before last year, has played it. And he said it's actually, you can't believe the undulation of the fairways, let alone when you get onto the greens. He said, you've got to be, in golfing terms, you've got to be in the right area of the green. So the hole will be changed every day, but you've got to place the ball. Sometimes you're going nowhere near the pin.
Yeah.
You're not going to put it in from 150 yards, unless you're very, very lucky and it's a one-off. But you have to play to different areas of a green. Now, that is not normal. Normally, as you say, it's target golf. You fire up, bang, get it in there as close as you can. But it's not on every hole. You're playing to an area on the green where sometimes the pin will be there, but sometimes it won't be. So it really is a test of golf for all the players. And you have got to be really in sync for that week. You've got to peak and have that real good feeling, good motion, good mentality and emotion, and feeling physically good as well. So you've got to peak in this week to actually win it.
Let me throw some names at you. Just give me a yes or no if you think they couldn't win it this week.
Okay.
Yes or no? Okay. Dustin Johnson.
No.
Bryson DeChambeau.
No.
Jordan Spieth, who won last weekend.
Could go close, but
okay.
Not sure. Yeah, I think his confidence will be high, but I'm not sure. To win back-to-back is very hard.
Yeah. Justin Thomas.
Yeah, he will always be up there. He's such a good player. I haven't backed him, but he'll have a chance.
The Spanish, John Rahm.
Yes.
Wow. You think he's got the mentality for it?
Well, he's just had their first baby as well. Right. So I think his life will be on a high as well. I think he's a great player. He's played the Masters quite 4 or 5 times now. And that's the thing with the Masters, with Augusta. I think people learn from playing it, and going and experiencing it and going through it. And I just think I see so many sportsmen when they've had their first child, they're on a high. It's like almost like life is so great and they play great. So I think John Rahm I was going for anyway before I knew they'd had a baby with his wife. So that's only a little bit of an added, as long as he's not doing the early feed.
On the course. 3 or 4 more. Rory McIlroy. Yeah,
I think Rory is under a lot of pressure. I do believe he's got the capability. I really think why he's trying to hit the ball as hard and as far as DeChambeau, I do not know. He's just got play. He hits it long enough anyway. I mean, his iron shots and putting, really, if he works on that, he will win. He'll win a major again. He will be up there, I think. Whether he's got deal with the pressure of it all, because he hasn't had a great time in the last season.
Lee Westwood?
Well, I think Lee has been fantastic, hasn't he? I mean, he's peaked probably maybe a tiny bit early. Having the 2 back-to-back tournaments where he almost won them, both of them, was incredible for his age and the play. I can't see him winning it, but he'll be in the. Put it this way, I think over the first 2 days we'll see him in the first 2 or 3 days we might see him in the leaderboard in the top 20.
What about Paul Casey?
Yes, I think Casey might be a little dark horse here. I think he might just sneak through. I think he's a very good player. He is, again, knows Augusta now, has played well round Augusta, just can't put the 4 days together. So maybe if he doesn't start so good, sometimes he comes out the trap so good that he finds it hard to sustain it. But maybe if he's there or thereabouts, I think Casey's going to go well. Yeah, I've had a little back on him as well. But a couple of pennies.
Some great names down at the outsiders list, previous winners like Jose Maria Olazabal, Larry Mize, Ian Woosnam, Sandy Lyle, Vijay Singh, Mike Weir, they're all in there.
Yeah.
Fred Couples, as you mentioned before, Bernard Langer's out there as well. It's just great that the tournament just invites them back for the rest of their careers.
It's wonderful, and that's what that tournament's about. It is a very special tournament in many, many ways. Even the first tee-offs with Jack Nicklaus and Gary Plough, it used to be Arnold Palmer, bless him, before he passed. But, that's a wonderful way of starting a tournament. Early at 6 a.m, they get up and crowd are there when they can be there. And to just watch them tee off, it just brings that nostalgia and that feeling of the history of it all. And, it's no other tournament does that. And it's just so special. And it looks absolutely just perfect. Everything is, it's not like it's a golf course, but there's not a blade of grass out of place. It's incredible. And of course, those on the 12th, those flowers in the background and the bridge that you go across there and the reflection on the river and the bridge, it's just unique. It's like, if you see that picture, you just go, oh, that's Augusta. That's the Masters. And I think the fact that this major, you go back to that every year. It's the only one. The Open, the PGA, the US is all played at different courses and different years. Whereas you go back to the Masters, it's like you're going back home. Even to a spectator watching on telly, you snuggle up on your sofa and you get your beer or your cup of coffee and your biscuit and go, right, I'm in for the day. I'm in for the day and I'm going home. It's like it just drags you in and you feel comfy there. So I love that. I love it.
Well, there we go. The Augusta Masters tournament takes place on Thursday, culminating on Sunday evening, and if you can watch that, it'll be great fun over the 4 days. Sure to be lots of good golfing action, and then we'll be glued to the set over the weekend.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email Glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Well, that's it for today. Many thanks to our guest Oliver Sherwood for joining us. The Grand National is at 5:15 on Saturday on ITV, and the Masters Golf is available on Sky Sports from Thursday through until Sunday. We'll be back again on the weekend looking back at all the football action, but until then, enjoy the sport and stay safe, everyone.
That's all for today. See you next week.